But let me come back to the Arkansas journey, because I do believe there's some important principles that we can gather from how we did it in Arkansas that applies nationwide in the efforts of our governors in other states. So I mentioned that in 2015, when we started this initiative, computer science was required to be offered in every high school. We also integrated the computer science into our lower grades, the K-8 curriculum, and we had to retrain our teachers, and then we had to, part of retraining our teachers, we offered them a bonus of $10,000 over 5 years if they became certified teachers and taught in the classroom. And while it was required to be offered, we didn't require students at that time to take the course. And so there was a marketing responsibility that I had. I traveled to over 80 high schools, holding assemblies across the state of Arkansas, promoting computer science, encouraging rural schools, urban schools to have students to look at computer science as part of their curriculum. The message I had for them was that if you learn to code and you have access to high-speed broadband internet, then you can run the world from your front porch in rural Arkansas. And that might not have resonated at the moment, but coming through the pandemic, and they saw their parents maybe worked remotely, or they learned of others that worked remotely, they understood that principle, that you can work for a company in Austin or San Jose or Charlotte or across the globe if you have those skills, and we have that internet access. The results of that combined effort is that we went from 1,100 students in 2015 that took computer science to over 10,000 today in the state of Arkansas. We increased the number of our certified teachers from fewer than 20 at the beginning to close to 600 now across Arkansas that are certified to teach computer science. One simple example is small town in northeast Arkansas, Manila. They came down to the governor's residence. We had an academic presentation, and I met their computer science teacher. And I asked the computer science teacher, how did you get involved in computer science? She said, I was a French teacher, and I heard that this was important for the governor of Arkansas, so I said, surely coding is not any different than any other language. So she became certified and trained as a computer science teacher. She's been doing it for over 6 years now. Her graduates are going on to college and majoring in computer science. That is the dedication of teachers, because they saw the need and they responded to that need. Since 2016, approximately half of the 30,000 K-12 educators in Arkansas have received some form of training in computer science. We also focused on equity, knowing that there was a gap, and we did not want that gap to continue in terms of digital learning, in terms of computer science. And so the largest percent increase in enrollment in computer science in Arkansas has been among girls and minorities. Now, the rural divide should not be understated in terms of the challenge that it brought to us. That digital divide in our rural communities, and Arkansas is still a rural state, made it challenging in terms of giving the high-speed broadband access, to be able to recruit the teachers that we need, and we've had to work hard to overcome that, because we wanted to make sure that that student in Gravette, Arkansas, population 2,000, has the same access to computer science as someone in Little Rock or in Fayetteville or in Bentonville. To accomplish the access, we've also invested into high-speed broadband. We're taking American Rescue dollars, as many states are, trying to make sure that when that student goes home from the school where they have the highest level of broadband and best speeds, they go home, they can continue that study, and the parents can continue that access, and they can dream of the day that they might be able to work remotely if needed, and it works out. There were 5 key keys that I wanted to leave with you today, just in our experience, and I'll cover these quickly. First of all, we could have done much of this by executive order or simply our Commissioner of Education. I chose to go to the legislature, our General Assembly, and ask for a law to be passed that mandated computer science. Most recently, we made it a graduation requirement. The legislature responded. They said yes, and the legislative support has been a critical element of being able to accomplish our mission. I also asked them for $5 million at the beginning in 2015 to devote toward this initiative. I've been in politics long enough to know that when you announce an initiative, the first question for the media is, how much money are you putting behind it? And if you don't put money behind it, it doesn't have the same level of credibility and strength. And so we put $5 million every 2 years, and that has been increased most recently to $7 million. And so it's not just legislative support, but it is dedicated funding stream to help that computer science initiative that has been critical. It has been important for us to have a state office and position within the Department of Education. So we have the Office of Computer Science Education. We have a director, we have a staff that helps push this out daily throughout Arkansas and lead this effort. Anthony Owen is here, who's our Director of Computer Science, has done an extraordinary job. And then you have to have executive leadership. Now, in my case, it's me. I'm the governor, and I believe in this. It's my initiative, and I'm out there advocating for it every day. I've become a little bit renowned because Anthony would give me each year the number of students taking computer science and the list of all the schools and how many students were in each school. And I saw one school that had 0 students taking computer science, and I knew it was a large school, and so I just called up the superintendent and said, Superintendent, I got his voice message, and I said, this is the governor, and I know the statistics I'm getting have to be wrong because you have such a progressive school, but my information is that you have 0 students taking computer science. Would you give me a call back? Well, let me tell you, that superintendent got busy, and they soon had 100 students in the classroom, and they've marched on. But it takes that kind of leadership. We can have the Commissioner of Education doing it, or someone in the executive branch really has to own the initiative. And finally, it's about the partnership with the private sector. We can't do it without our industry partners. Many of them are represented in this room, and thank you for this. But they have to guide the instruction. They have to make sure it's broad-based, that it's not just coding, but it is robotics, that it is things that they need in their industry. It could be access to cybersecurity or introductions to blockchain. These are the kind of information flow that we have from industry that is needed in our computer science programs. And so that's what we did, and let me wind up by talking about specific goals that I have over the course of the next year as chairman of the NGA and in furtherance of this initiative. The first specific goal is to increase the number of high schools in the United States that offer computer science. As you've heard, right now it's 47%. Let's kick that number up. Let's compete globally, and let's increase the access of our students to computer science education. Secondly, I'd like to see the number of governors engaged with the Governor's Partnership on Computer Science. I co-chair this with Governor Inslee of Washington State. It's the governors all binding together to support computer science education. Right now we have 15 members. We want to see that increased. Third, we want to expand policy support for computer science. Right now, 23 states have policies in place to give all high school students access to at least one computer science course. We want to be able to increase that policy support and the initiatives of the different states. We want to increase the number of states that actually provide dollars and financial support for computer science education. I talked about how important it is. We've been able to use those funds that we've invested for incentivizing teachers, which has been really important, providing professional development, but the fun part of it is the rewards to the students. And so if you have a computer science student that is taking advanced placement test in computer science, they score a 5, they get college credit, but we give them $1,000 if you score a 5. That's real money to them. If you score a 4, you get $750. If you score a 3, you still get college credit and you get $500. And so those kind of rewards are important to students. It encourages and recognizes the importance of it. And it's made a difference. We have our competitions, and we give pretty good awards to the financial awards to the schools and to the students who participate and who win. We want to, there's only 20 states that have dedicated funding sources for computer science. We want that to grow. We want to expand the number of states from 3 that require it for graduation to a greater number. We think that is important for our future. And then finally, we have to keep our focus on increasing diversity in computer science education, to increase the emphasis on girls who code and minorities, because coding will help shape our future, and everybody has to be engaged in shaping that future for all. We're going to do this by messaging, just like today. We're going to do it by drawing national attention to it. We're also going to have regional conferences in which we're going to be able to showcase what other governors are doing, draw attention to it, and try to engage other states to a greater level. We're going to emphasize this in our winter meeting that will be coming up here in Washington, D.C. in February. And so those are initiatives that we can do, and we can measure that success. I'll end with a story of, I've said my granddaughter. Well, I have a grandson. Asa the Fourth is his name. He's 6'7", and he plays basketball. And he saw my initiative that I always talked about in high school, and he said, "Papa, why are you always talking about computer coding?" And I explained to him the reasons, and he said, "I'm just going to stick with basketball." So he graduates, and he gets a basketball scholarship, and he goes to play at a great school in Missouri, Drury University. And I hear from him, and he says, "Papa, I want you to know I changed my major." And he started out in business, and he got into game design, and now he's going to be graduating with honors with a degree in computer science. And so, you know, while it didn't take on high school, the emphasis and the exposure of that really made a difference for him at a later time in life. And so this is an important issue for our governors. It is an important national issue, and your presence here conveys that. And so we're going to engage in it. I know we can make a difference, and it'll make a difference for our young people, but also for the security of the United States of America. Thank you.